Like, there is a level of guilt surrounding my decisions when I want to cancel things. Welcome to the Date with Confidence podcast, a place to come for dating advice, support, and stories that'll either fill you with hope or relief that your dating experience wasn't as bad as it could have been. With practical episodes that'll provide you with easy to implement tips to help you feel confident AF on your next date, alongside lighthearted catch-ups where your host Rebecca, that's me by the way, shares her own experience dating after 4 years of the single life. You are guaranteed to end each episode feeling less alone in your dating struggles, empowered to never settle again, and confident that the best is yet to come. And if it all falls to shit, there's a special first season dedicated to breakups. You are welcome, my friend. Subscribe, review, and share with your single friends. I had to cancel a date with the nice one. So back at the start of the year, I had been on a really nice date with a lovely guy. He'd taken me to a museum where it was like a really cool museum. So there were loads of like optical illusions and like art installations, and it was quite an interactive place. And I really liked it. We had a really nice time. Went there, went for dinner, had fun. Conversation was good. And then we like organised a second date, but then I think I had a migraine, so I cancelled. And then it really felt like there'd been too much of a gap to meet up again. Like, you know, when it just goes for so long, we hadn't really been staying in touch, and I was like, oh, this is kind of a sign. Like, we were both busy, so it just didn't happen. So in the end I was like, do you know what, I just need to cancel this second date rather than keep us both like up in the air. Let's just cancel it and move on. So in the end I sent a message and I started by kind of apologising for going quiet for a few days, and then I said, I've been reflecting on our date, and whilst I had a great time with you, there isn't a strong enough connection on my side. I don't want to mislead you or waste our time, so I think it's best if we don't meet for a second date. All the best for the future though. And I think that was a really nice way to end things, because we had a really good time. I wanted to be respectful. He hadn't done anything wrong, but there wasn't anything there. I mean, it was obvious that the connection wasn't strong enough because I hadn't been prioritising seeing him. As I said, I'd been ill, and then we'd both been busy, and it just didn't happen. And I think that that's a nice way to cancel things, because let me say, I struggle. Like, there is a level of guilt surrounding my decisions when I want to cancel things. If I've committed to another date, I feel like I can't back out of that. Or I did feel like I couldn't back out of that, because I have committed to something, I've organised something, I've said yes to a second date or a third date or a fourth date, however many dates. There's a certain level of guilt that I get when I then change my mind. It's almost like, but you've committed to seeing them, you can't let them down. It makes me feel like a bad person. On this particular occasion, he'd paid for the whole date as well, and I wasn't expecting it, but it was a very nice surprise. And because he'd paid for the whole thing, it made me feel worse about cancelling it, about cancelling the second date, because I felt like I owed him something. I felt like I owed him this second date because he'd chosen to pay for the first date. And I sat with that for a while and realised that I don't owe anyone anything. It was his decision to pay. That doesn't mean I owe him a thing, regardless of whether he might have thought that, which I don't think he did anyway, because he was a really nice guy. I don't get the impression that is something that he would ever consider. But whatever anyone else thinks, I don't owe anyone anything. We'd been on a nice date, he'd paid. I'd said yes to a second date because I enjoyed his company and I thought it was going to be a good idea to get to know him. But then as I said, I changed my mind, and it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your mind and decide, actually, I don't think I do want to go on that second date. And when you do that, as long as you're honest and you're open and you don't just ghost them, I think that's absolutely fine. There are ways that you can say things. Like, I feel like my message is very polite and very respectful, and I've used it. I just copy and paste it now. It's great. So feel free to copy and paste it if you want as well. But it's honest, it's upfront, it's not full of fluff. I don't need to over-explain myself. It is what it is. I don't feel like there's a connection, so I'm not going to waste our time. Like, I'm doing you a favour, mate. What's the point in us keep dating if there's not going to be anything, if I already know? So I sent that. I've sent that message multiple times. And around the same time as I cancelled this second date, I also cancelled a third date with another guy because I felt the same way. It hadn't even been that long since I'd seen him. It had only been like a few days or a week or so after I'd seen him for our second date, but he'd given me the ick on, well, probably the first date if I'm perfectly honest. But by the second date, I was absolutely, no, this is not for me in any way. And as I said, I think it's really important to be honest and upfront about your feelings as early as possible. If we'd been on maybe 3 or 4 or 5 dates, then I'd probably have worded things a bit differently. I'd probably have gone into a lot more detail or explained a bit more, because I think then maybe they deserve more of an explanation. But it was still early days, so short and to the point was definitely the way to go. And I heard back from both guys and they were genuinely nice about it, which is always appreciated. And I think that when you're respectful in your message to let someone down, then the response you're going to receive back is going to be respectful as well. Like, that's so much better than ghosting. Can you imagine if I just stopped talking to the guys? That would be really rude on my part. At the end of the day, we're all dating for the same ultimate goal. That goal is to meet someone we have a genuine connection with that we want to explore. Whether that's a connection that we want to explore for a month, for 2 months, for 10 months, or for 10 years, that's the goal. And you can't force a connection. So it's better for everybody involved, myself, yourself, their self, to just be as honest as early as possible. So that's how that's essentially, like, it doesn't need to be more than that, does it? That's how you cancel a date with a nice one. You are upfront with them, you tell them respectfully, and yeah, if you want to copy my script, go ahead and do it. I won't be offended. You can contribute your stories to the Date with Confidence podcast by heading to datewithconfidencepodcast.com/contribute. Share your best or worst dating stories. Share your scripts for how you let people down. Tell me about your icks, dating tips that you think everyone should know, or ask me about anything about my date, or ask me anything about my dating life, or a burning question that you need an answer for. And don't forget to check the show notes for resources and courses to help you date with confidence. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for listening to the Date with Confidence podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Subscribe, rate and review, and share it with your single friends.